I'm excited for my raise, I said, trying not to grin too wide. I'd stayed late every night for 6 months, cleaned up the back-end systems, trained 2 interns, fixed the quarterly disaster Mark caused. It was my moment, or so I thought. My boss, Greg, didn't even look up from his coffee. He chuckled. "What raise?" he said flatly. "We gave it to Mark." I blinked. "What?" He turned to HR. They nodded and slid a packet across the glass table. The header read, "Salary increase approval, Mark Evans." I felt the blood drain from my face. HR cleared her throat. "You were never on the list." Mark leaned back in his chair with that smug, bro-club smirk. "Oops," he said, pretending to wince. "I meant to tell you." The room fell into a weird silence. Not guilty, just awkward. The kind of silence that happens when people don't see you bleed, just glitch. I stood up. "I see," I said. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I walked back to my desk, grabbed my mug, my USB, and the little plant I'd nurtured through every late-night deadline. No one followed. No one stopped me. I was just gone. But here's what they didn't know. I had been keeping receipts. Every stolen credit. Every overlooked report. Screenshots. Emails. A backup of the codebase Mark claimed he built, but didn't. And I wasn't walking out defeated. I was walking out armed. My name is Jenna Lee. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because you've never seen revenge served like what I had planned next. 2 weeks passed. No calls. No emails. Not even a "sorry, it didn't work out." I guess they assumed I'd just vanish quietly, like every other woman they undervalued and pushed out. But I didn't vanish. I went building. See, while Mark was posting celebratory selfies and Greg was patting himself on the back for promoting leadership loyalty, I was turning my apartment into a war room. I had backups of every code sprint I authored, of voice memos of strategy meetings Mark slept through, screenshots of Slack convos where he literally asked me to reword this so I sound smarter. I also had one more thing, an NDA I never signed. They didn't even think I was important enough for one. That was their first mistake. The second? Underestimating my memory. I started drafting a Medium post. Title: How I Built a $1 Million Platform While a Mediocre Man Took My Credit and My Raise. But I didn't publish it yet. Not until I gave one final warning. I sent an email directly to Greg. Subject: Attribution request. Final chance to make this right. It was short, professional, and terrifying if you knew what I had. Greg replied 3 hours later.
His tone was different now.
"Let's hop on a call." I declined. No more talks. Just action. The next morning, Mark emailed me directly. Speech balloon: "Hey Jenna. Just wanted to say sorry again. It was never personal. You're great at what you do." I didn't reply. I just attached a zip file of the code base he claimed as his own. Then BCC'd the CTO of the company that had just acquired our startup in a $12 million deal. That's when the panic began. I saw it unfold on LinkedIn in real time. Mark's promotion post disappeared. Greg's brag about nurturing internal talent was quietly deleted. Then came the whispers. Then came the audit. And I hadn't even dropped the real bomb yet. It was a Tuesday when the ripple turned into a wave. I wasn't even watching when it happened. Someone sent me the screenshot. Subject line leaked. Urgent. Internal IP review. Attribution discrepancy. Evans. Evans. Mark. By Wednesday, he was off the company Slack. By Friday, his LinkedIn headline quietly changed to "Open to work, former product lead." Except he was never a lead. He was a thief. And now the industry knew. I didn't have to say a word. The CTO's team did the digging. The code review exposed Mark's complete lack of technical authorship. They cross-referenced logs, found my commits, found his edits. Turns out, oops, I forgot to tell you, doesn't cover intellectual theft, especially not during an acquisition. Meanwhile, Greg tried to save face. He sent me an email. Speech balloon: "We'd love to bring you in for a consulting role, just short-term of course. Happy to discuss compensation." I laughed out loud. He wanted the fire after trying to snuff it out. So I replied, "Speech balloon, Greg. I wouldn't return to that building if it were on fire and you asked me to blow on the flames." Then I hit publish. My Medium post dropped at 10:17 a.m. It took 7 minutes to go viral. By noon, it was trending on Twitter. Headlines started to appear. She did the work. He got the raise. She got the last word. Startup queen quietly topples tech bro empire. I got interview requests from TechCrunch, Fast Company, The Verge. People shared their stories in the comments. Women, non-binary devs, interns who'd been erased by louder voices. I wasn't just a name anymore. I was a symbol. And Mark? He was a case study in what happens when you mistake silence for weakness. Greg tried to spin it. Said it was a miscommunication. A learning opportunity. But no one bought it. Because I didn't just pack my desk that day. I took their house of cards with me. 2 weeks after the post blew up, I got the message. From Alana Ruiz, CTO at Halcyon Tech, a major player.
Subject:
Let's talk. I read your story. I've got a proposal. We met at a quiet cafe in Midtown. She didn't bring a PR person. No legal shield. Just her and a notebook. Respect shows in how people arrive. She slid a folder across the table. Inside, a 6-month build contract. Full technical lead authority. A blank check for salary. Equity on top. I don't want you to come back to tech, she said. I want you to lead where tech's going next. I smiled. Why me? She leaned in. Because you don't just build systems. You expose the ones that are broken. I signed that night. No hesitation. No second thoughts. I was no longer walking into rooms hoping for space. Now I was designing the floor plan. Meanwhile, Mark ghosted the internet. No tweets. No posts. Just occasional rumors. He tried freelancing, but every client pulled out once they Googled his name. Greg? Still holding onto his VP title, like a life raft in a tsunami. But no one in tech takes his calls without smirking. He became a cautionary tale in HR seminars. And me? I hired a team. Half of them were women who DM'd me after my article. People with fire, not fame. We launched our first beta within 8 weeks. Secured funding before we even finished our pitch deck. We didn't just build a product. We built culture. No stolen credit. No whisper campaigns. No invisible labor. And on launch day, someone from my old company tried to tag me in a congratulatory LinkedIn post. You know the kind, fake support for traction. I replied publicly. Speech balloon, don't get to celebrate what you tried to silence. It got 14,000 likes in under 2 hours. I wasn't just the girl who left a job. I became the woman who rewrote the whole damn playbook.
And they?
They got left behind, exactly where they'd tried to leave me. Her name was Michelle, head of HR from the company I left. The same woman who slid the folder across the table and told me, "You were never on the list." She called me from a blocked number. Left a voicemail. "Hi, Jenna. I know things didn't end smoothly, but we'd like to talk. There's been a shift in leadership. Maybe there's a way to rebuild." Rebuild. As if I was the one who knocked it down. I didn't call back. But I did screenshot it. Saved it in a folder labeled, "They Remember." Later that week, I got invited to speak at a Women in Tech conference.
Keynote.
Main stage. 5,000 seats. The intro read, Jenna Lee, founder, engineer, systems breaker, and blueprint creator. I stood under stage lights, heart thudding, and looked out over a sea of women. Some fresh grads, some battle-worn vets. And I told them everything. Not just about Mark, but about how it feels to watch your work wear someone else's name. To hear a laugh after you ask for a raise you earned. To be forgotten in meetings, then expected to applaud someone else's win. The room didn't clap right away. They just sat with it. Then came the thunder. A standing ovation that didn't feel like praise. It felt like release. Afterward, a girl no older than 20 approached me. Tears in her eyes. Fists clenched. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was alone. I shook her hand. You're not. You never were. You were just quiet. And they built their thrones on that silence. That night, I received another email. This time from Greg. A different tone.
Desperate.
Speech balloon, things have changed. We were wrong. I was wrong.
Can we talk?
I didn't respond. But I did post a quote the next morning. When the system breaks you, rebuild outside of it. When they erase you, print your own pages. And when they finally remember your name, make sure it's on the door, not just the invite. It was shared over 30,000 times. I never looked back, because I wasn't on their list. I was writing a new one. They started sending care packages, branded mugs, "We miss you" cards, even a handwritten note from their new CEO, who, by the way, was brought in after I exposed Greg's incompetence.
Cute.
But I wasn't interested in nostalgia, with a bow on top. I wasn't the woman who left that building quietly. I was the one who made silence expensive. Then came the kicker. A mutual connection forwarded me a job listing. Page facing up director of innovation, confidential company. $320,000 salary. Stock options. Remote optional. It was my old role. The one they'd mocked me out of. But now it had my fingerprints all over it, the responsibilities, the strategy, the language I once pitched in that same boardroom. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I scheduled a post. It dropped Monday at 9:01 a.m. It's wild to see companies hire for roles they once told you didn't exist. I guess building something valuable always looks obvious in hindsight. Signed, the woman who walked out and built the exit into an empire. No hashtags. No tagging. Just truth.
Raw. Clean.
Ruthless. And again it exploded. Comment after comment.
This.
You built what they feared. Every burned bridge lit your way forward. By noon, Michelle from HR sent one more email. Speech balloon, Jenna, we understand this door may be closed. But if you're ever open to conversation, I replied with one sentence. Speech balloon, I don't revisit places that required my silence to stay comfortable.
Blocked.
Deleted. That was the last I ever heard from them. Because I didn't just walk away from the building. I condemned it. And what I built in its place. They'll never be able to replicate. Because it wasn't just a job. It was mine. I stood across the street from their new office. Shiny, sterile, rebranded. Different logo. Same rot underneath. It wasn't nostalgia. It was reconnaissance. Because while they were busy scrubbing their history, I was busy acquiring part of their future. You see, through Halcyon's funding arm, I bought a quiet majority share in one of their core vendors, the one that powers their back-end infrastructure. No one knew. Not until the contract came up for renegotiation. And I walked in. Not with a badge. With a board seat. Greg wasn't there anymore. Neither was Mark. But Michelle? She recognized me the moment I stepped through the frosted glass doors. Her eyes widened. She stood up. Jenna, we didn't realize that I owned this room now. I smiled. That makes two of us. The meeting was quick. They wanted discounted rates, preferred support, long-term security. I offered none. Just new terms. Strict. Expensive. Non-negotiable. And when Michelle hesitated, I leaned in. I suggest you sign. Before someone who remembers less than I do walks in next quarter.
She did.
Hands trembling. No eye contact. I left without shaking a single hand. Back in my car, I looked at the skyline. A city of towers built by people no one remembers. Funded by people no one respected. And run now. By me. That night, I hosted a dinner for my new dev team. We toasted with plastic cups. Laughed until our ribs hurt. No suits. No hierarchy. No stolen ideas. Just builders. Free and seen. As I cleared the table, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Speech balloon, you won, Jenna. Hope it was worth it. I didn't respond. I just whispered to myself. It wasn't about winning. It was about owning the ground they thought I should crawl on. 3 months later, I was the keynote speaker at a national tech summit. Main stage. LED walls the size of billboards. Thousands in the audience. And guess who was listed as a panelist on the second stage?
Michelle.
Her title had changed. Organizational culture consultant.
Cute pivot.
No mention of where she'd come from. Backstage, she walked past me.
Paused.
Then turned. Jenna, she said like we were old friends who just lost touch. Your work, it's incredible. Really? What you've built is. I cut her off. Spell my last name. She blinked. What? My last name?
Say it.
Spell it. She hesitated. Lei? I shook my head. It's Leigh. You approved paperwork with it misspelled 3 times. And when I corrected it, you laughed and said, details aren't everything. Her face went pale. I smiled. They are now. I stepped onto the stage and stood under lights that didn't burn, they revealed. I opened with this. A year ago, I packed my desk thinking I lost everything. Today, I sign the checks for the company that powers the very tools I used to be denied access to. Applause. But I didn't pause for it. I'm not here because I'm lucky. I'm here because I stopped asking permission. I saw her in the crowd, head low, hands folded, and suddenly I wasn't angry anymore, because the girl who once said, I'm excited for my raise, had become the woman who didn't need one. She created the table, wrote the contracts, signed her own damn checks. I ended with this. To every woman who was ever left off the list, don't just fight for your seat. Own the building. And when I stepped off that stage, I didn't look for applause. I didn't need validation. Because the silence that once dismissed me now followed them.